Hello friends! In this video, I'm going to tell you about my trip to Cuba. I flew from San Francisco to Panama and from Panama to Havana. September is the last month of the rainy season and I got to see a lot of rain during my short stay in Cuba, starting from the time of my arrival. My casa particular was located next to a public park in central Havana. After checking in, I decided to explore the neighborhood. Cuba has one of the lowest internet connectivity in the world. In order to go online, you'll first have to buy an internet card and then find out where the Wi-Fi hotspot is. Later on in the evening, I met up with some of the other guests at my casa particular for dinner at a restaurant near El Capitolio. Dinner was followed by drinks at a bar called El Dandy. If you are into nightlife, you should not miss out Fabrica de Arte Cubana. It is this warehouse that has been transformed into a huge art gallery and event space and also has a hipster bar. We had to wait for over an hour to get in, but it was totally worth it. My second day and first morning in Cuba. I decided to do some exploring of Old Havana on foot. I came across a local market and had to check it out. Music is an integral part of the Cuban life. You'll find it everywhere, and more so in the touristy areas. As I kept walking, I reached the more touristy part of town, Habana Vieja, or Old Havana. It is characterized by old colonial Spanish and Cuban Baroque-style buildings, narrow alleys with shops, cafes and restaurants, hotels and parks. One of the charms of Habana is a fleet of classic American cars that can be found everywhere in the city. At one end of Old Havana, right next to the Habana Bay, stands a castle, Castillo de la Real Fuerza. It is now a maritime museum showcasing exhibits from Cuba's colonial past. From one castle to another, we took a bus to Castillo San Carlos de Cabana on the other side of Havana Port. The castle offers magnificent views of the Habana skyline. It also offers tourists a chance to witness a real cannon firing ceremony every night at 9 p.m. My third day in Cuba. Today, I needed to finalize my transportation to Vinales. I went to Via Azul, the long distance bus station, but instead of getting a bus ticket, I reserved a colectivo. After lunch, I decided to check out Plaza de la Revolucion, remarkable for the giant metal portraits of Che Guevara and Camilo Cienfuegos. Later, I returned to central Habana and continued my exploration on foot. Calle Obispo is a lively street lined with souvenir shops and cafes with live music. On one end of Calle Obispo is Plaza de Armas. Right next to Plaza de Armas is Plaza de la Catedral. The Havana Cathedral is a Catholic cathedral featuring a Baroque ornamental facade and two bell towers. Apparently, the bell towers offer an amazing view of Old Havana. Unfortunately for me, both the attempts I made to get into the tower I failed because the cathedral was closed on both the occasions. After checking out the cathedral, I continued walking along the road next to the water all the way to Malecon. The Malecon is a broad esplanade roadway that starts in Old Havana at the mouth of the Havana port and stretches along the northern coast of the city. When I reached Malecon, I saw some local kids and teenagers trying to swim in the Havana Bay. One of the must-dos in Havana is to head to Malecon at night and sit by the seawall and listen to the lapping of the waves or some salsa music while sipping on to Cuba Libres. My fourth day in Cuba. Today, I took a colectivo or a shared taxi from Habana to Vinales. The roads in Cuba are very well maintained, and the drive took us just less than 2 hours. We made a short stop on the way for refreshments and restrooms. Soon enough, it was time to hit the road again. After reaching Vinales, I met up with Anton for lunch. I had met Anton at the Casa Particular in Habana. He had reached Vinales a day before I had. After my lunch, I went for a horse ride through the tobacco farms and countryside of Vinales. This is a must-do activity for anyone visiting Vinales for the first time. I was treated to the sight of the beautiful natural scenery in Vinales, particularly the tabletop mountains surrounding the Vinales Valley. My fifth day in Cuba. I lazed around for most of the day. I walked up the hill to Hotel La Ermita, from where I took in the sight of the Vinales Valley beneath while sipping onto a chilled beer. Later, I walked back down to the town center and watched life go by at its own sweet pace in Vinales. It was soon time for me to take my colectivo back to Habana. My last day in Cuba. My flight was in the afternoon, so I decided to take advantage of the morning by making a trip to the Museo de la Revolución. It is a great place to visit if you want to get a non-American perspective on the Cuban Revolution. My short trip to Cuba was finally over. It was time to say goodbye.